Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Our cover story tonight on Gravitas focuses on a big question haunting the entire world right now. Is the Red Sea heading towards a full-blown war? We have been telling you about the rising tensions in that part of the world. A lot has happened. As we unravel those developments, they could directly affect people in every part of the world. As shipping costs soar, as a result of the Houthi attacks, we tell you where things stand as of now, as the US and allies issue a stern ultimatum to the Houthis. We tell you how the war is fueling the return of inflation. Also on the show for you tonight, we tell you how Gaza is becoming a testing ground for Israeli startups. You must have played the game Tetris at some point in your lives. We tell you the story of a 13-year-old who has now beaten that game, a feat that was earlier only achieved by AI. So he is the first human to do that. Do you believe that there is a weight bias that exists at workplaces? We tell you what the latest findings now reveal. We also tell you all about the terror beasts and the fossils of these giant predator worms that have now been unearthed. Has the Israel-Hamas war officially spilled over to the Red Sea? This particular question is buzzing across capitals in West Asia, courtesy the Houthis. The Iran-backed rebels have been escalating tensions there. They are attacking foreign vessels and disrupting the flow of trade. And the US and allies are issuing stern ultimatums. The Iranian regime has sent a warship. Oil prices have started to skyrocket. And all of these signs point at a full-blown war, a war that could have severe repercussions globally. Let's just start off with what the Houthis are doing. They have been firing missiles at shipping vessels, and in the latest instance, a Malta-flagged container ship came under attack. It reported seeing 3 explosions towards its port quarter. This happened about 24 kilometers southwest of Yemen's Mocha. Why a Malta-flagged ship? Didn't the Houthis promise to attack Israeli ships only? Well, here's what the British maritime security firm Abray had to say. Let me quote. It was assessed this particular vessel was not Israel affiliated, but other vessels in the operator's fleet had regularly called Israel, and this affiliation might have been sufficient for her to be targeted. This is not the only incident, by the way. On Sunday, Houthi fighters attacked a Singapore-flagged commercial vessel. They even tried to board the ship, but were repelled by American helicopters. The naval battle led to 3 Houthi boats sinking and 10 militants dying. 48 hours after this incident, the Houthis issued a statement vowing to punish the US for its actions.
The situation has reached a point where Americans have resorted to militarizing the Red Sea, and their reckless actions are affecting international navigation, serving the interests of Israeli enemy. America is the instigator of wars, problems and chaos, and it disturbs security on land and sea. They have committed a major crime by targeting our armed naval forces who were carrying out their official and routine duties in the Red Sea for the sake of navigation security. With this action, America has opened fire on itself and brought danger to its own interests. It will not escape punishment and retaliation.
And in response to this provocation, the US and allies have also issued an ultimatum. They have asked the Houthis to either cease the attacks or bear consequences. The ultimatum has been jointly issued by the governments of the US, Australia, Bahrain, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Germany, Italy, Japan, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Singapore, and the UK. Let me quote the most telling excerpt from that statement. The Houthis will bear the responsibility of the consequences should they continue to threaten lives, the global economy, and the free flow of commerce in the region's critical waterways. We remain committed to international rules-based order and are determined to hold malign actors accountable for unlawful seizures and attacks. And as this warning was issued, Iran also jumped onto the issue. 48 hours ago, Iran reportedly dispatched a naval frigate to the Red Sea. According to Iran's Tasnim news agency, the warship named Al-Borz crossed the Bab el-Mandeb Strait and entered the busy waterway of the Red Sea. What will this frigate do is the question. Well, according to Iranian officials, the 51-year-old vessel, originally sold to the Shah of Iran by Britain, will supervise the naval missions in the Indian, Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. The US and its allies have their doubts over whether the vessel will really do that. Remember, just 24 hours ago, Iran also witnessed a blast near the tomb of Qasem Soleimani. The two explosions during an event meant to commemorate the former commander of Iran's elite Quds forces. Iran suspects the involvement of Israel in these blasts. And in a statement issued on Wednesday, the Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi told a crowd in Tehran that Israel will pay the price for its alleged actions. Listen to this.
I warn the Zionist regime, don't doubt it. You will pay the price for this crime. These crimes that you have committed, you will deeply regret.
And you will see by the power of God that the one who has failed in this field will leave this field more disgraced than today is the Zionist regime and the criminal America.
And as this war of words continues, as these attacks in the Red Sea continue, oil prices are beginning to skyrocket. According to reports, Brent crude was up 49 cents. And US West Texas Intermediate crude was up 36 cents. This happened after both benchmarks gained around $2 in earlier trading. In fact, a Reuters survey of economists and analysts has predicted that Brent crude would average $82.56 a barrel this year. This will be up slightly from the 2023 average of $82.17 a barrel. This is mostly because of the tensions in the Red Sea. And that's not all. This crisis has also boosted shipping costs and triggered inflation worries. Freight rates, you see, are increasing daily and additional surcharges are being levied. The shipping time for goods has gone up. There is a threat that spring and summer products will be late this year due to the vessels traveling the long way around South Africa's Cape of Good Hope instead of the Red Sea. And all of this could lead to inflation in countries around the world. The consequences could be damaging because a host of countries are going to polls next year. The list includes the US itself. The country cannot afford inflation in an election year, and this could lead to political turmoil and public dissatisfaction. So at the end of the day, a lot hangs in the balance because of what's unfolding in the Red Sea. If there is a full-scale war, the repercussions will be felt across the world. And staying on with the Israel-Hamas war, according to a new report, this war is providing an opportunity to Israeli defense startups. an opportunity to flourish in war-torn Gaza. The report says that a number of Israeli startups are using Gaza as a testing ground for new tools, weapons and projects. They are looking at new opportunities as Israel's military budget rises and geopolitical tensions soar. Here's a list of who is doing what. Spear UAV has developed a suicide drone that can be launched by troops in the field. Infinidome is developing a system that protects drones from GPS jamming. Smart Shooter, meanwhile, has developed a smart gun sight that helps soldiers hit moving targets. Axon Vision is integrating artificial intelligence systems into armored vehicles and drones. Now, these are just a few examples. There are many more, and reports say that Israel's small and largely unnoticed industry of startups is developing various state-of-the-art tools for the Israeli military. This includes everything from software and information analysis tools to drones, robotics, some of the most lethal weapons. The report adds that the industry has been on a roll in the last 2 years. Courtesy the Russia-Ukraine war, the China-US geopolitical tensions, and now, of course, the war in Gaza. And all of these developments have led to a spike in the global demand for weapons and new technologies. Israeli startups are flourishing because of them. They are testing their new weapons in Gaza and selling them in the global market. And in return, they are receiving millions in investments by top venture capital funds in Silicon Valley. If I speak of them individually, Infinidome, which was founded in 2016 and employs 25 people, has raised $15 million to fund its system for protecting drones from GPS jamming. And next, we have Spear UAV. The company says that the war has accelerated the development process for specific products the Israeli military needs. The company was established in 2017 and employs 50 people in Tel Aviv. It has developed drones that can be launched from a portable capsule, and in return, it has received contracts worth millions from the IDF. Now, here's the thing. There are quite a few advantages for Israeli startups in the industry. Reports say the Administration for the Development of Weapons and Technological Infrastructure in Israel's Defense Ministry acts as an incubator for them. It cooperates with startup companies on numerous projects, helping to develop weapons and tailor them to the needs of the military. It even places orders for small-scale pilot projects on behalf of the security forces sometimes. And this makes the IDF a sort of a beta site for startup companies. This is what the managing partner of one defense firm told Haaretz in a conversation. Let me quote. The type of threats have changed, and there is the need for security technologies related to data collection and analysis. We have seen new capabilities that enable extraordinary things. Startups have an advantage here since they are faster than any other entity. The bottom line is this. As the Israel-Hamas war escalates, so are the profits of the Israeli defense firms. And it is these defense firms that might end up being the real victors of this war, given how they are making big money out of the ongoing war. The US is at it again. In its war against the Al-Qaeda, it is seeking to base military drones along the West African coast. Where exactly, you ask? Let's just have a look at this map. Here, in countries along the Atlantic coast, the US wants to use the airfields of Ghana, the Ivory Coast and Benin. You see, these coastal countries, along with Togo, are relatively stable. But now they are threatened by jihadists surging south from Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger in the Sahel region. What exactly would these unarmed drones do? Let me break it down for you. They would basically allow the American forces to conduct aerial surveillance and to trace the movements of the militants along the coast. They would also provide tactical advice to the local troops during operations. You see, where the US does not want to deploy troops, it is deploying drones to do the job. Now, there was a time when drones would just play a supporting role in the military operations, but now they have become a very crucial part of modern warfare. We've been telling you about this. Just have a look at what's going on around us. Two wars are going on. Drones have played a key role in both of these wars. In the Ukraine war, Russia started firing Shahed drones into Ukraine in September 2022. Between then and last month, it had sent around 3,700 deep into Ukrainian territories. In fact, just earlier this week, in the early hours of the new year, Russia launched a record 90 Shahed-type drones across major Ukrainian cities. And you see, these drones are cheaply produced in Iran. Initially, they confused Ukraine's air defense. They were harder for standard radars to detect as compared to missiles. And when Ukraine did actually figure it out, it faced a dilemma. As I told you, the drones are very cheap to produce. And by cheap, I mean around $20,000 per drone. But the defense missiles used to intercept them are not. All in all, reining in these drones was a costly affair, and Kiev had to adapt. It now uses vehicles with mounted machine guns to shoot down the drones. Not just that, the US has also armed Ukraine with switchblade kamikaze drones. And in Gaza, Israel has used drones to pound Hamas from a safe distance. The big ones carry out constant surveillance of the strip, and the smaller ones get much closer to the action. One such example is the Extender. It is designed for indoor and underground operations. It can easily get into the buildings and the tunnels of Gaza. And just a day ago, a drone strike in Beirut killed senior Hamas official Saleh al-Aruri. We told you about that. Hamas is no less. It has its own modified drones. When it attacked Israel on October 7, a fleet of drones filled the Israeli skies. These drones are available online, by the way, for just $6,500. They were rigged to carry explosives and knockout cameras, communication systems, remote-controlled guns. Together, they defeated Israel's $1 billion border defense. And this, you see, was a wake-up call. The deadly potential of drones was on wide display for the world. Drones are changing the course of wars, to say the least. Sure, they have been around for over 2 decades now, but today a new generation of cheap, commercially available systems is emerging, and it is basically challenging some of the world's most technologically advanced forces. They have become indispensable for modern military operations. They provide better surveillance, precise targeting, they are safe, convenient, and most importantly, they are cheap and flexible. And their role is only going to expand as far as warfare is concerned. How are the militaries around the world adapting is the question. The US has opened a specialized drone warfare school. You heard that right. It is basically teaching the American troops how to defend against drones. It is the first academy of its kind. Some 1,000 personnel will be trained every year. Meanwhile, the NATO collectively owns and operates 5 large, high-altitude, long-endurance systems. I'm talking about NATO's Alliance Ground Surveillance. It is composed of 5 NATO Phoenix remotely piloted aircraft, along with a series of associated ground command and control stations. And these systems continuously detect and track moving objects like drones. As for India, reports say the government is planning to install an anti-drone system along the country's western border. Not only would that defend the country from drone attacks, but also from increasing drug menace from neighbor Pakistan, which often drops packets of opium and heroin using drones. All eyes are on the 22nd of January, which will mean that the Ram temple, the brand new Ram temple, is going to be consecrated in India's Ayodhya. We now get you inputs about how the security system is being bolstered in the temple town. Our next report getting you the complete story.
The grand consecration of the Ayodhya Ram temple is just weeks away, and preparations are in full swing. Reports say that the AI surveillance is likely to be introduced for the security of the temple. That's right, artificial intelligence surveillance. Not just that, 11,000 security personnel are expected to be deployed for the grand ceremony. This includes the state police as well as paramilitary forces. How exactly will AI help in surveillance? Here's a quick explanation. The AI surveillance would help in detecting frequent visitors. This includes any common trend followed by a group of people, as well as any other suspicious trend spotted within the temple premises. If suspicious activity is detected, a security alert would be raised automatically, and then security agencies would be able to immediately follow up with adequate intelligence. Deterrence is also a major part of the security apparatus. The Uttar Pradesh police has already intensified manual as well as social media vigilance ahead of the consecration ceremony. Officials have said that the state and central officials are currently analyzing what is called the threat perception. And once this exercise is completed, the final itinerary of the Ram Mandir consecration will be released. 38 officers of the local intelligence unit have been deployed. 26 companies of paramilitary and provincial armed constabulary have been called in. 8,000 local police personnel are likely to be deployed. The Uttar Pradesh Anti-Terror Squad and Special Task Force are also on the ground. They are also being accompanied by India's elite National Security Guard. Verification process of every individual is underway. This includes taxi drivers, e-rickshaw drivers, hotel staff and local residents. The guest list of the event is also being finalized. Anticipation is building for the ceremony on the 22nd of January, when the temple's doors will be thrown open to the devotees. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And here's a question. Will cable TV and movie piracy make a comeback in 2024? And if the answer is yes, what exactly will become of streaming services is the immediate question. And these questions have surfaced as a result of reports regarding the decline in streaming services, especially in the US. The reports basically claim that an increasing number of Americans are cancelling their subscriptions of streaming services. And why is that? Well, mostly due to the growing cost of living, and according to the analytics firm Antenna, in November, defections rose to 6.3% across 8 main streaming services. And this was up from 5.1% a year earlier. Which streaming services are they ditching? Almost all the major ones like Apple TV Plus, Amazon's Prime Video, Max, Peacock, Paramount Plus, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus. Around a quarter of US subscribers have ditched at least 3 of these services each. And interestingly, this trend coincides with a steady rise in prices for the streaming services. According to analysis by Daily Mail, it now costs Americans $121 per month to subscribe to ad-free plans cumulatively. And this, by the way, marks a notable increase from just $100 a year ago. And this is happening because major streaming platforms have recently implemented significant price hikes. This is further contributing to the financial strain on the consumers. They are doing so to combat rising cancellation. And given these rising costs and cancellations, piracy is making a comeback in the United States. That's right. One study has in fact found that piracy through streaming sites increased by 16% in 2021 as compared to 2020. The trend continues. According to reports, illegal streaming and downloading of films and TV shows makes up the most significant portion of the global piracy statistics. In fact, in 2023, it accounted for 24% of the global bandwidth. What does that tell you? That movie and TV shows piracy could be returning because of the increasing number of streaming services and the rising costs of the subscriptions. And many viewers find it a lot more convenient, also cheaper, to access pirated content than to pay for multiple platforms. Platforms that may not have all the shows and movies that they want to watch. According to a report by Forbes India, TV shows account for almost half of the traffic to piracy sites, nearly 46%. And if we speak of movies, they accounted for 13% of the traffic to piracy sites. The percentage of pirated films also grew in 2023 to 38.6%. Now, here's the thing. If you happen to be someone who is downloading pirated movies to escape the cost of the streaming services, our advice would be, do not do that. Piracy is not just illegal, it's also bad for your privacy and security. You see, hackers often use pirated content to spread viruses and malware, so the risk is just not worth it. But then again, with fears of a recession looming larger due to tensions in West Asia, it seems like people are looking to find ways to save money, and they are no longer willing to afford all the extras. Another reason could be how the world has opened up with the COVID-19 lockdowns and the long-term quarantines largely a thing of the past. People are no longer trapped inside their houses and starved for entertainment, not just on streaming platforms, but also social media. You see, streaming is not the only medium to experience a reduction in users. The problem has plagued multiple media, including social media, audio, and news platforms. So it is possible that people are just feeling burnt out from media of all types, or that they just need to hit their internal reset buttons. Think about it. Bill Ackman, a billionaire hedge fund manager and Harvard alumnus, recently made headlines for his campaign against Claudine Gay, Harvard's first black president. Ackman accused Gay of anti-Semitism and plagiarism, triggering a huge political storm. His campaign has garnered support from right-wing groups. While Gay believes these attacks were fueled by racial animosity, who exactly is Bill Ackman? Let's take a deeper look at his background. Bill Ackman is the founder of Pershing Square Capital Management. He launched the company in 2004, gaining recognition for his strategic short of bond insurer MBIA. His role in saving the mall operator General Growth added to his prominence. Ackman's career features a lot of high-profile wins, especially with companies like Canadian Pacific, Fortune Brands. During the COVID-19 market crash in March 2020, Ackman made a $2.6 billion profit from a $27 million investment in credit hedges. And he now has an estimated net worth of $4 billion. Ackman also has an elite academic background, which includes a Bachelor of Arts and Science from Harvard University, along with an MBA from Harvard Business School. His social media presence has been instrumental in broadcasting his views to over 1 million followers. And critics believe Ackman's campaign against Gay stems from resentment over the lack of influence his donations granted at Harvard. Ackman has recently aligned with conservative sentiments. Though he was once a Democratic Party donor, civil rights leader Al Sharpton, who is the founder of the National Action Network, has criticized Ackman, highlighting racial motives behind his campaign against Gay. Greg Gonzalez, a Yale epidemiologist, took to the social media platform X, describing Ackman as a pernicious influence in academia. Gay's resignation followed a congressional hearing about alleged anti-Semitism, intensifying the pressure on her. Republican Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik's questioning during the hearing further complicated the matter. Stefanik, known for her controversial views, has been criticized for her anti-Semitic remarks and conspiracy theories. Meanwhile, following Gay's resignation, Amman doubled down on his campaign, questioning the role as a faculty member. Despite Amman's claims of non-political motivations, his actions have attracted support from various right-wing groups. There's also the Virginia Project, which is known for its anti-critical race theory stance. These developments raise a lot of questions, especially about the impact of wealth and influence by alumni, and whether political agendas are actually influencing academic excellence and diversity. Now, as this story continues to develop, the role of donors like Amman in shaping academic policy and also altering career trajectories is worth pondering over. Let's now talk about a game-changing moment in the world of video games. Introducing Willis Gibson, a 13-year-old gamer from Oklahoma. He has defied what we thought was humanly impossible. He managed to beat the classic game Tetris, a gaming challenge which was only possible for artificial intelligence and bots. This feat was considered far beyond human reach until Willis shattered that very notion. It is indeed a historic milestone. Now, Tetris needs no introduction. It is a beloved game that has tested players for over 3 decades now. It was popularized by the Nintendo Entertainment System and Game Boy consoles. The video game is known for its intensely rapid puzzle sequences, which culminates into the notorious kill screen, during which even the game faces issues functioning at times. Willis goes by Blue Scooty online, put his gaming acumen and tenacity on display while attempting to beat the Tetris game. In a stunning 38-minute performance, he reached level 157, facing a potential setback from a misplaced block. He remained unnerved. Recovering, he completed another line of blocks. The game freezes with a de facto victory culminating in a score of a breathtaking score. Vince Clement, the president of the Classic Tetris World Championship, expressed his admiration towards the teen gamer, confirming that this was an unprecedented achievement by a human being, let alone a teenager. Willis's impressive command of the classic game comes through dedicated practice, regularly honing his skills for around 20 hours weekly on a cathode ray tube television. His achievement also carries emotional significance as he dedicates his win to his late father, Adam. Willis has rapidly risen to be among the top competitive Tetris players in the US, mastering the innovative rolling technique on the controller, a strategy that he honed in just 2 years after first encountering the game on YouTube. And Willis's victory serves as a powerful reminder that humans can actually surpass AI if they put in the right training into their craft. As of now, Willis has managed to rewrite the rules of gaming possibilities, beating the Nintendo Classic that captured the attention of generations of gamers since its release. In a grotesque act of violence and brutality, an Indian man chopped off a woman's nose over flowers plucked from his garden. The severely injured woman is hospitalized, and the state government has assured help and action. Let's break down what happened. According to the police, the incident occurred at a village in Karnataka state's Belagavi district. The victim is an anganwadi worker, Sugandha More. Anganwadi workers are women volunteers providing services under the Integrated Child Development Services Program initiated by the Indian government in 1975. The union government program aims to tackle malnutrition among all pregnant women, lactating mothers and children in the age group of 0 to 6 years. Anganwadi workers and helpers basically provide supplementary nutrition and health education, health checkups, immunization, preschool informal education to the children. Now let's just take a look at what really happened in the Indian state of Karnataka. Children at the village Anganwadi were playing outside and picked some flowers from the residence of the accused, Kalyan More, who lived nearby. The accused reportedly tried to beat up the children, but Sugandha More, the Anganwadi worker, stepped in and prevented him from doing that. And in a fit of rage, the accused allegedly brandished a sickle and severed the woman's nose. Karnataka State's Women and Child Development Minister has condemned the attack and assured support to the victim's family. The bizarre crime transpired in the state minister's constituency. The assault reportedly triggered a strong response from the Anganwadi workers and helpers who staged protests. Anganwadi workers and helpers are the trained foot soldiers of India's healthcare system. They engage with the communities at the grassroots level and help give a happy ending to thousands of stories, particularly in the rural setting. Their role is very crucial in giving the health indices an upward swing. Groundbreaking studies conducted over the past few decades have shown us that a child's early years have a disproportionate impact on the rest of their lives. An increasing number of countries are designing programs to invest in little children as a cost-effective way to tackle inequality and raise a generation of healthier adults. Do looks matter in a professional space? Can your weight actually affect your paycheck? If you happen to lose a couple of pounds, will that help you get a better promotion? Now, ideally, the answer should be no. But that, unfortunately, is not the case. No matter how progressive we think we are, weight bias very much exists at workplaces. Several employees around the world, in fact, have revealed how losing weight changed the way they were treated. Some say they were noticed more by their managers. Others felt that it was easier to bag a promotion once they had shed a few inches and pounds. In fact, a Harvard study monitored changes in attitudes towards different factors from 2007 to 2020. And in the span of those years, gender bias, racial bias, bias towards sexuality all decreased significantly, but the negative attitudes about body weight at workplaces remained constant. The US-based HR association, Society for Human Resource Management, conducted multiple surveys last year. In almost all of them, half of the managers said they preferred interacting with employees who were not overweight. And let me tell you one thing here. This weight discrimination affects women more than men. You might have seen this coming already. Data suggests that for an obese woman, losing weight could boost her salary by as much as obtaining a master's degree. Let that sink in. A 10% increase in her body mass, on the other hand, can result in a 6% cut in her salary. Weight stigma is present at every stage of the employment cycle. For obese people, mostly women, it's harder to get hired, promoted and paid. Of course, ask anyone and they would say that weight should not be a factor while hiring or promoting an employee. But the discrimination still happens and the bias is still very much there. Interviewers tend to stereotype candidates based on how they look. Those with high body fat are often dismissed as lazy or less agreeable, and those who get hired can experience discrimination in different ways. It can sometimes be explicit, like exclusion from certain clubs or backhanded remarks even. In a 2021 study of 14,000 people from 6 different countries, 58% of the respondents said that they had experienced weight stigma from their colleagues. Other times, weight discrimination can be subtle, like not being considered for promotions or being unfairly fired. A 2012 study of HR professionals showed that they were more likely to disqualify obese people from being hired and less likely to nominate them for higher positions. And you know what the saddest part of all of this is? Weight-based discrimination is still legal in nearly all parts of the world. A handful of exceptions are there. The American state of Michigan and cities San Francisco and Madison, New Jersey and Massachusetts are considering similar legislation. While gender, race, religion, sexual orientation are usually protected under the law, that is not yet the case as far as weight is concerned. Weight bias is overlooked in employment law and also left out of diversity and inclusion training. So what really is the way out? Will this unspoken problem continue to prevail as it has in the last few decades? And why aren't legal protections in place? Just how long will it take for the employers to take some action? As Taiwan gears up to choose a new president, candidates have now turned to an unexpected stop on their campaign trails. They are targeting the widespread religious community that would make up for a significant number of votes on the 13th of January. Our next report telling you more.
Dozens of temple visits, meetings with religious leaders, and attendance at spiritual events and festivals. Taiwan's presidential candidates are placing religious identity at the center of their campaigns. In New Taipei City, frontrunner La Sheng-te placed offerings at the Lixing Fude Temple. The DPP candidate lit incense and prayed for the health, safety, and peace for Taiwan. The political significance of the visit was very visible in the offerings they left at the altar. Accompanying the fruit baskets and green flags were water bottles with Lai Ching-te's face imprinted on them. The candidate also addressed a crowd of about 200 people in the temple's atrium. Temple leaders offered him large bunches of garlic sprouts, symbolizing the popular phrase Dong Swan, often heard at campaign rallies. The phrase means frozen garlic in Mandarin, but sounds like be elected in Taiwanese. As the January 13 elections draw closer, candidates are making campaign stops at temples almost every day. There are about 33,000 places of worship in Taiwan, averaging about one in every square kilometer. More than just religious organizations, they have long been the cornerstones for the local community, especially in rural areas, marking a significant voting group in the island nation. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
What is the first thing that comes to your mind when I mention the words terror beasts? Huge predators on the prowl, perhaps? Some sort of a machine ready for attack? Well, I'm talking about worms. Yes, those slimy creatures that no one is fond of. And no ordinary worms, by the way. Huge 500 million year old predator worms. And guess what? According to scientists, these worms were some of the largest swimming animals over 520 million years ago. Fossils of these worms have now been found in North Greenland. That's right, fossils of these predators of the past have been unearthed. And what really is being said about them? What has the discovery of the fossils revealed? How is it significant? Let's break it all down for you. First things first, these worms are called Timoribesta. You know what that means in Latin? Terror beasts. So clearly, just their name is enough to give you an idea of how dreadful they are. Fossils of these worms have been found in North Greenland. What exactly do we know about these creatures? According to scientists, they are some of the earliest carnivorous animals. They had a distinct head, fins, gigantic jaws. As per researchers, these creatures would have been close to the top as far as the food chain is concerned. These worms used to primarily feed on ISO-6. Remains of this arthropod, which was quite common back in the day, have been found in the digestive systems of the worm. These findings tell us a lot more about what the world was like 500 million years ago. Not just that, they also reveal that the ocean ecosystems back in the day were a lot more complicated than earlier thought. On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off, leaving you as always with Gravitas images. Thanks very much for watching.
India's Global Voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
On eClub this week, we give you a lowdown of all the big releases of 2024. Find out all about the first award ceremony of the year, the Golden Globes. And meet Indian actor Siddharth Trivedi as he talks about his film Khogai Hum Kahan.
Hi guys, this is Siddharth Trivedi and you're watching me on WION.
All this and much more with me, Alison Lagrange, on WION at these times.
World of Africa.